Hey YouTube, this is EvanMagician34, and I've got, I'm still kind of getting back into Magic, and so my collection isn't completely complete. But I've managed to piece together some blue-white control for game day, which is coming up in less than a week. And I don't know if I'm really going to play this, but it was cool, and I thought I'd share it for anybody who cared. It's like Azorius blue-white control, but it's not really Azorius because it doesn't really take advantage of their detain mechanic. But it's got some really cool stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to go up the mana curve with creatures, and then spells, and then finally the lands. I'm running two Judges Familiar. Mainly, I just like that he's the little thing that can deal damage to your opponent. He was a good filler in the lower part of the mana curve for me. And I like his ability to basically slow your opponent down by one turn a lot of the time because of his ability to counter stuff. And there are a lot of things I would gladly sack him to counter if they tap out for it. So a lot of times it just means they have to wait one turn to cast stuff. Um, so that guy's cool. I'm running one Sublime Archangel because I only own one Sublime Archangel, but she's a great 4-drop, very powerful beat stick, and it's mainly what she is because this deck's pretty creature light. We only run 9 creatures. I'm running 3 Herald of War. It's kind of a wild choice, I guess, in a lot of ways. I do have a number of other angels that this can cheapen, and it does cool tricks with a couple of them, but mainly I just like it because in a deck with so few creatures, I like a creature that flies, so it's got some evasion, and then every time it attacks, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So they have to try to kill it, which I may be able to counter, but more importantly, she's a win condition. You know, you can't keep getting hit by it, and blocking her doesn't really matter because she's still going to get her boost whether she's blocked or not. So I like her. She's real cool for that reason. I'm running 2 Isperia Supreme Judge because she's a 6-drop that flies 6 in at your opponent, and if they get real aggressive, she can profit you with a lot of cards and allow you to maintain control of the situation. She's a very nice control card, especially with some of the other cards we got in the deck. So I think she's kind of an underrated mythic. I picked her up really easily, and I think that's just dandy. There's not really much not to like about Isperia. And I'm running one Angel of Serenity, once again, kind of because I only own one. She is pretty expensive. I'd probably be running more copies of her if I had her right now. I just haven't managed to pick them up yet from my local, but she's a good curve ender, and of course Herald of War is nice with her too. Um, on the spell front, we're running 3 Cyclonic Rift because it's amazing. I love overloading it. If you have to cast it for 2, that's cool. But overloading this can really buy you a lot of time, let your big powerhouses start threatening your opponent, which is nice. We got 2 Azorius Charm. The lifelink ability can be a nice way to kind of recover and stabilize. The draw card's kind of marginal at best. This is mainly here for its removal and stalling ability in that third function of the charm. I got 3 Midnight Haunting. I know it's not necessarily the preferred card, but I like it because it's instant, so I can feign or realistically have counters, and then use this thing to still make creatures to kind of harass the opponent and kind of whittle their life points down early game. So I like the instantness of Midnight Haunting, if instantness is a word. We're running 3 copies of Cancel, just because it's a straight-up hard counter that's relatively inexpensive and it catches everything. You can side into more deck-specific counters, but in the main deck I like this because it's versatile and it makes my game 1 decent against anybody. I'm also running 3 copies of Rewind. I like Rewind just because I can still cast other instants at the end of the turn after this and have the advantage of all that mana, of course, and it's a very good hard counter. It's a very creature-heavy environment, so I'm running 3 Supreme Verdict, and that's not my only mass removal, but it's a really cheap one. The fact that it's basically a 4-drop, it's as close to Wrath of God as they apparently let us get nowadays. I played quite a few years ago before I came back, so lack of Wrath of God kind of stings. Running 3 Terminus, it's a very cool miracle card. It also gets around things like indestructibility and regenerate and junk like that. It's really nice. The fact that it only gets creatures is kind of annoying because it makes planeswalkers a little more threatening. But I think I'm a little more concerned about the aggro element, so Terminus is quite nice. Running 2 copies of Syncopate. It's a kind of a generic hard counter again, but the ability to exile, of course, can be handy on occasion. I'm also running 3 copies of this card, Divine Deflection, because it's a great way to, as the Art of War points out, you can look weak when you're actually in a position of strength. You can tap out with your 1 or 2 flyers mid-game and invite a very large attack from an aggro player who's already feeling the pressure because you're starting to stabilize. They want to use their big army to hit you, and you can return like 6 or 7 damage easy to your opponent's head. Yes, this can be used to kill a big creature or a threatening creature, but it can also be used to kill an opponent. Very nice. I like it. It can be used at small numbers to help you out. It can be used at big numbers to help you out. Really solid card. I like Divine Deflection quite a bit. And finally, Sphinx's Revelation. This is an astounding card. I think it's only going to go up in value as time goes on, especially when Innistrad cycles out. I think things are going to slow down when that happens, and this card is just mind-blowing to me because it's an instant. If this were a sorcery, it would not be nearly so good, obviously. But the fact that it's an instant, especially with cards like Rewind that are going to do something but then leave my mana open, I mean, I feel good with this card when I draw 3 cards off of it, let alone any more. And the life gain's very handy in a deck where a lot of times a really quick bum rush, something Rakdos zombie style, might be bad for you. This card can totally pick you back up, put you back on your feet. I probably wouldn't want to get too many of them on my hand early game, but 2 is enough that I should get it mid to late. And it feels really good. That's 27 spells, which leaves us with 24 lands. I'm running 4 Glacial Fortress, because all you ever need is 1 basic land out, basically, or basic land type, and it comes in as a strictly better plains or island. The cycle of lands like this are just incredible. I love them. I'm running 3 Hallowed Fountains. I don't really need more, and the only benefit to this card is the fact that it says Plains Island right here. But the shockiness of it, I don't really care for it. You're already in a deck where you don't like getting burned, so it's almost always going to come in tapped, and that's kind of annoying. But still, it does what it needs to do. It's either color. I'm also running 2 Cathedral of War. We have very few creatures, so it's easy to get the Exalted off. And it's, of course, a land. It's just a land with benefits. I'm running 1 Moorland Haunt. We don't have many creatures, but there's no way to profit from them in the grave, so you might as well exile them and turn them into something that you can use to kind of scratch your opponent, especially after after you use Supreme Verdict, basically. This thing allows you to make something to just keep scratching your opponent. Scratch, scratch. If you have, say, Cathedral out, now you're scratching for 2. And finally, we've got 7 plains. And we've got 7 islands. So it's real nice and even down the middle for white and blue, and you should get it all. Your mana curve's pretty decent. Your slow early game, but your mid to late game will totally compensate you. So it's a cool little blue-white deck. If nothing else, it's fun for casual. I think I may make some changes and maybe pick another deck for game day, but it's hard to say. But at any rate, I like the concept of this deck, and I thought it'd be cool to share it for anybody who wanted to see. So, there you go, and until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.